What's very disappointing about the White House, think for one moment, I don't think anybody in America would live this way. That they would reach their limit on a credit card and they just extend the limit and not look about where they're spending. No state can do this, no family can do this, no city, no county can do this. This isn't even the behavior of past Joe Biden. When Joe Biden was vice president, they even called him the Biden talks. He praised the idea of negotiation together. I don't think anybody in Congress believes this as well. I mean, look, I think we have to be sensible and we have to be responsible. We have to have a responsible debt ceiling. I'm not saying never no to a debt ceiling. I'm just saying you hit $31 trillion, 120% of GDP. Your party has been in power for 4 years. You increased discretionary spending by 30%, $400 billion. I want to look the president in the eye and tell me there's not $1 of wasteful spending in government. Who believes that? The American public doesn't believe that. Our whole government is designed to have compromise. But here's the leader of the free world pounding on a table, being irresponsible, saying, no, 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 just raise the limit, make us spend more? No, that's not how adults act. That's not how elected officials, that's not how the American public believes their elected officials act. So what I have asked for is to sit down, let's find common ground, and let's eliminate the wasteful spending to protect the hardworking taxpayers and protect the future of America. The greatest threat to America, it doesn't matter if you sit before a four-star general. They'll tell you the debt is the greatest threat to this nation. And for the president to say he wouldn't even negotiate, that's irresponsible. We're going to be responsible, we're going to be sensible, and we're going to get this done together. So the longer he waits, the more he puts the fiscal jeopardy of America up for grabs. We should sit down and get this done and stop playing politics.
Good evening, friends. This is official. Congressional lawmakers are finally addressing Social Security and Medicare. Groups of Democrats and Republicans are moving forward with funding important programs for seniors and retirees. More monthly checks will be going out this year. Friends, this is good news. So please make sure that you watch until the end of this video. Also, to say thank you for being part of this community, I will be giving away 2 $75 Walmart gift cards every Friday. If you'd like to enter today's giveaway, all you have to do, friends, is click and like several of my videos and then comment below the keyword of each video that you watch. The more videos that you comment on, the greater your chances, my friends, of winning the weekly giveaways. Senate Republican Rick Scott circulated a letter to his Senate colleagues today, urging them to back his plan to ensure that the federal government does not default on interest payments or payments to Social Security beneficiaries. That's if Congress fails to raise a debt limit before the Treasury Department runs out of borrowing authority. Senator Rick Scott's bill, which is co-sponsored by Senate Republican Ron Johnson, is called the Full Faith and Credit Act and would require the U.S. Treasury Department to continue to pay the principal and interest on debt that's held by the public and ensure that Social Security payments continue to old age and disability beneficiaries. It would also prioritize payments to active members of the armed services and U.S. Coast Guard, and compensation and pensions provided by the Veterans Affairs Department. Finally, it would also instruct the Treasury Department to prioritize Medicare payments. This bill ensures that the U.S. Treasury Department will not run out of money to cover debt payments, Social Security payments, and other stipulated obligations, because it requires the Treasury Secretary to notify Congress of any expected revenue shortfall and raise the debt limit by the amount necessary to cover those priorities on a 2-week basis. Senator Rick Scott called the bill a common-sense solution that protects entitlement programs, ensures our military members are taken care of, and takes the default issue off the table by mandating interest payments on our debt. The Florida senator said President Biden and U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen possess the full authority to prioritize debt payments and ensure that the full faith and credit of the United States is never in question. Ron Johnson, in a separate statement, has recently said, "This legislation will guarantee that the government does not default on its own debt and prioritizes spending for the men and women in our military, as well as those who depend on Social Security, Medicare, and veteran benefits." Senate Democrats have rejected past Republican calls to prioritize interest and Social Security payments in the event that Congress fails to pass legislation to raise a debt limit before the government runs out of borrowing authority. Republicans, newly empowered with a House majority, are demanding spending cuts as a price for lifting the debt ceiling and averting a catastrophic default on U.S. debt. But they're struggling to identify what to cut, complicating Speaker Kevin McCarthy's task of passing a bill with his narrow majority. Republicans are divided over whether Medicare and Social Security spending should be on the chopping block. They are split over whether military funding should be on the table. They are firmly opposed to new tax revenues to reduce the debt. They say they're willing to cut domestic non-defense spending, but that's a limited slice of the budget pie that wouldn't fulfill many conservatives' demands to balance the budget. Also, if the Supreme Court strikes down the U.S. President's student loan forgiveness program, the Biden administration has no plan B. The deputy director of the National Economic Council told reporters in a recent briefing, "We are not deliberating or considering any other approach." Borrower advocates hope that if the relief plan was overturned, the administration would further extend the payment pause that expires 2 months after the end of June or when litigation is resolved. Others said the Biden administration could make the requirement for forgiveness under a particular income-driven repayment plan much easier, or potentially assert authority under an act to push through debt cancellation. The White House also demonstrated a commitment to protecting borrowers by pausing repayment until litigation is resolved. According to advocacy groups, this payment and interest pause should stay in effect until debt cancellation is implemented, to prevent waves of confused borrowers from falling into delinquency and default. The revelation leaves the more than 26 million borrowers who have already applied for cancellation or have been automatically approved on edge before the highest court in the nation hears arguments at the end of February and will likely deliver a ruling on forgiveness during the month of June. Most loan borrowers currently do not know when they will start making payments once again, whether any of their debt will be forgiven, or what their next monthly payment will be. So, dear friends, what are your thoughts about this loan forgiveness plan? Please let me know if you think it's a good idea or not. Well, my beautiful and most dearest friends, that is the end of my daily stimulus update video for this Friday evening. Thank you, dear friends, for joining me here once again and for being part of this community. I will be announcing 2 winners for the $75 Walmart gift card giveaway in a video later today. Friends, make sure that you do stay tuned for that video. Thank you and have a wonderful and very blessed Friday.